Hello. Good morning. Day 3 of the 4-day challenge. Here we go, Shelley.
Here we are.
Here we are. We're live.
We are live and in person.
Happy Thursday.
It is Thursday. Wow, I look kind of orange here. I'm not sure what's going on. We had to do something different with my lighting.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
Okay.
well, I look healthy.
That's right. You're glowing. You were at the Northern
I'm the
Lights
same
last night,
color as
right?
my hair. Oh my goodness. So day 3 of our 4-day challenge, Q4 goals and activity plans. And so just as a quick recap. So the first day we went through SMART goals, how to set SMART goals, looking at Q4, and then talked about how to plan and execute the daily activities that will allow you to hit those goals that you set. And then yesterday we talked about, what did we talk about, Melanie?
We talked about daily activities.
Oh, yeah. Good
Yeah.
gracious.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a long day for me. I
It was.
apologize. Went straight from this to delivering a full day disc workshop, which was amazing, and had a lot of fun with the Carroll County leadership class. And so that was a lot of fun too. And one of the things that there were some questions on, and just so that everyone's aware, when we're doing these challenges, we're trying to plan content and the daily things we're going to talk about based upon your responses, comments, and reactions. And so one of the several of the comments that came out of the last couple of days were about overcoming objections. So yes, this is about daily activity, but we want to also help you understand how, when you're out doing that daily activity, whether that's email, whether it's phone calls, whether it's in person, whether it's, however you're doing your prospecting, that daily activity that only you can control, that we're helping you to understand how to now overcome objections, because that seems to be something that all salespeople struggle with. And so we're going to talk today about overcoming objections. I uploaded an article that I found on HubSpot, which is a great resource for salespeople if you have an interest in that. And there was a comment yesterday in the group that was saying something like, and I can't remember who posted it, that, wondering if this challenge was for someone who is a solopreneur or an individual salesperson or a new entrepreneur starting to build their business. And the answer is absolutely, this challenge is for you, because you control your activity. That's really the only thing you can control, whether you are starting a business, starting a sales career, or you're a veteran, if you're experienced. And so this is for everyone at every level. What's cool about what we are teaching is that it is a system and a process that is duplicatable. So even if your team is you and the mouse in your pocket right now, or you're a solopreneur out there, these activities are things that will help you grow and scale your business. And as you grow your business, if you decide that you want to add team members, you can use this system to coach them into their own success. So it is something that is for everyone, no matter where you are at in the process of establishing your business, getting started in sales. If you're an experienced sales professional, if you're a sales team leader, or you're aspiring to be a sales team leader, we want to provide you tools and resources that are going to make this much more simple, easier to remember, easier to follow, so that you can make the strides and hit the goals that you set for yourself. And if you're a team leader, helping your people to achieve their goals so they can be successful.
Remember, you can't take someone where you have not gone. So you cannot build a team and just say, well, you should do this, or try to be successful if you don't really have a system in place. That's what I learned a long time ago. It was
Mhm.
trying to be like everybody else. And that's the comparison gap that we talk about in the 15 laws of growth. And for those of you that know me, I talk about it all the time, yet it's the biggest thing that gets in our way. It's the biggest thing that gets in our way. I want that, yet I'm not willing to do what you've done to put the
Mhm.
success in place. So these are fundamentals. Like when we talk about scale, you've got to start at the very basic level. And so we're really trying to focus on those little things that make the biggest difference.
Mhm. And in scaling, you're going to plan for a specific amount of growth that you want to have. So if you want to increase your sales by 20%, then you're going to have to up level your activities and your knowledge and your skill set at least 20%.
Mhm.
So you'll hit that one and then you're going to scale again. So this isn't, you get to scale as many times as it takes you to get to where your ultimate goal is. But it's really difficult to try to scale without having intermediate steps because we get overwhelmed. When we set a huge goal and we think about, and that's what we think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to, I want to scale up my business. I want to go from $100,000 a year in sales to $500,000 a year in sales. And if we are only focusing on that 500,000, we're going to get overwhelmed. We're going to start going, oh my gosh, how is this going to happen? When the reality is, if we take the difference, because we've already got to 100,000, and we know how to do that because we've done it, just like Melanie just said. You can't do something new, getting higher and better results, doing the same things that got you to where you are now. So if you want to get that kind of growth, that explosive growth, then it's about breaking it down into intermediate steps and then breaking it down further into daily activity. And that daily activity, if you're an individual, is what you can do. If you're a team leader, it's about coaching your people to what they can do and control, which is their daily activity.
And here's the
Any-
other thing. I just want to add this real quick, Shelley, because you made me think about, as you are going, okay, maybe you have an independent consulting company and you have done everything and you're at your 80 to $100,000 level. And you're like, okay, but how does this affect me? Right. So the questions are, but does this design make a difference for me? How can it impact me? The thing is, when you start increasing your activity, you're going to find that the resources that you need are going to be showing up in front of you because you can't continue to do it all. This is when you're going to have to realize what are the things that you do really well and what are the things that you can hire out. What are those resources that you really need to be hiring somebody for? That's why we talked about social media in the first challenge. If you can get really good at this, you can teach and pass off what is really working for you once you figure that system out. And then you can hire that done. But until then, you got to do it all on your own. You got to figure it out. You got to be accountable. And then when you say I'm ready to grow, which is where a lot of people that are joining this group say, hey, I'm ready to just kind of think about how do I take it to the next level? How do I add that one more team member? How do I go for that promotion? Right? You got to prepare for that. When you're prepared, it's really the luck that creates the opportunity, but you are in the mindset. You say, I am ready to do this. I know exactly how I see it. So you just have to be able to put all of these fundamentals in place first.
Mhm. So, that makes me also think, so if you are a solopreneur out there, I mean, the reality is we only have so many hours in a day. And there's only a few ways to increase your income as a solopreneur. That is to take on more clients or to charge more. So it's about figuring out which way you want to go. And I would say that most solopreneurs, especially I mean, if you're selling a product, if you're in a direct sales organization, you don't really have the ability to raise your price that's set by the company. Or if you're in insurance, or if you're in real estate, I mean, the market and your company dictates the commissions that you can charge. So, I mean, there's some things that you have to get creative about. But if you are in a position in a company as a business where you can add team members, that is the way you're probably going to the most quickly be able to scale your business. And you're adding value to other people in a big way and providing that significance to them and their life by bringing them along on the journey and teaching them everything that you know.
Mhm, mhm. And
So,
if you are in a position where you are making a salary and you get your bonus because you can make a commission, but you don't have any control over the cost, right? So all customers pay the same cost. Here's where leadership matters. Here's
mhm,
where your leadership confidence matters, because if you can develop the relationship with your customers, they will refer you. Where we talked about this all this week and the last month is when you develop your leadership capacity and you have the belief that what you're doing is serving them to solve a problem, you don't have to work as hard because
mhm,
people give you the credibility because of the work that you do. So it all comes out in the wash, whether it's people or whether it's adding value. It's about sales confidence and leadership excellence. This is
mhm,
why we designed these programs for you, because we know you're all coming at it from different angles. Yet
mhm,
we have to be successful as women and balance everything else in our lives.
mhm. So, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. And, Melanie and I are Maxwell Leadership certified coaches and trainers, but we also look at other places to level up our own knowledge, level up our own skill sets. And I'm going to make my screen bigger here. And one of the places that I love is HubSpot when it comes to sales in particular. And as we talked about yesterday, whether you're a solopreneur out there, individual contractor, whatever you are, or a brand new, I'm starting my own consulting business, you've always got to be sharpening your own saw. And this community is designed to help you do that with other women and being an encouraging and uplifting place to be able to do that. Because, when we do things with other people, it makes it more fun. We get different perspectives. We can have the brainstorming. We can bounce things off of other people. And, that should help us move forward faster. Because the saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. We think that through this community, you can do both. You can go faster together.
That's right. That's right. And you may think of something, you may meet somebody in this group. That's the thing too, right? Community fosters creativity. So if
Mhm,
you see something in the group that you say, I want to learn more about that, like let us know. What are the skill sets that you don't have or that you have a gap in that you want to learn more about? Because we have tons of experience and we have really been building teams no matter what industries we've been in. And so we can point you in the right direction or provide some of the right resources. So don't hesitate to speak up and say, hey, I want to see more of this, right?
Yeah, because if you're thinking that, there's probably other community members too who are thinking the same thing. Oh, it'd be great if they would talk about this or they bring this resource to the table. So, and that's what we want to do. I mean, we want to bring you what you want and need. And like Melanie said, I mean, oh my goodness, I started my first business at the age of 24. And I've learned a lot in the last, ooh, what, 35 years about how to start, grow, and successfully exit businesses. You know, that's part of the plan too. You've got to be thinking about, what am I going to do? How am I going to exit this business? Is it going to be retirement? Is it, is that when I'm going to exit? Am I building something to sell? Or am I going to just work until I just don't want to work anymore? I mean, I have friends in the sales professions that are in their 70s and 80s, and they're still out there having fun, helping people, and making extra money. So, this is about what you want and how you want to design your life.
Yep.
And your business should be something that brings you joy, not makes you feel like you don't want to get out of bed in the morning.
And sometimes your side hustle, if you can really focus on the strategy behind it, it can build a lot faster than what you maybe imagined. And so I hear so many of you that have texted me that I just know what's going on in your life, that you go, I have to deal with this 9 to 5 because, X, whatever that is. Yet I really see my life as having more freedom, as having more capacity, as being able to utilize my skills that I know that I have. And so give yourself that freedom to just explore these processes, because you'd be surprised if you just implement a couple of things, you might get clarity on what's the next step that you actually need to take. So
Mhm.
we're here to encourage you, because don't give up. Don't think that it's going to take a year or 2 years or 3 years to start seeing results. It doesn't. You just have to have the right mindset. So hang in there with us.
The right mindset and the right systems and processes, things to make it easier for you, not harder.
Yep.
And it all starts with self-leadership. Even in the fact that you're watching this live or you're going to watch the replay, you should give yourself kudos. You're here to increase your leadership capacity of yourself by learning more about how to grow your business, grow your sales, grow a team, grow people, because that is what is going to ultimately create the lifestyle that you desire.
Mhm.
So kudos to everyone for either being on live or watching the replays. It means a lot. You might not see it right now, but Melanie and I have been around long enough and been doing this long enough. We can tell you definitively, the people that get what they want in life are the ones that are investing in themselves and
Mhm.
investing in their learning, and not just the learning, but actually putting it into practice and having that attitude of, I am not giving up. I am not giving up on my dream. So if, next Monday is week 2 of the mastermind group, put your dream to the test. I got an email from one of our community members who got the Audible book or Kindle or something. I don't know, but she's already listened to it once all the way through. And now she's going back again, and she's very excited, and it's helping her with clarity. And I'm pretty sure she's going to jump into the actual roundtable membership level so that she can go through the process of that mastermind group with other like-minded women. And I just tell you, you cannot go wrong with taking advantage of and putting into practice the things that we are providing for you to change your life. Because
Mhm.
I'm telling you, this is transformational stuff.
It is. And you have to lean in. About 6 years ago, when I first heard the term mastermind, I thought, what is that? Like, why would I want to join a mastermind? It makes the term is kind of intimidating. And then you're like, oh, it's just really a study. If you've been involved in any kind of a book study, yet it is an actionable plan to take whatever you learn and put it into action, put it into motion. That's the accountability of the mastermind. It really gives you that clarity, that opportunity, that freedom for that particular time that you make the space for your mind to get ready so that you can then plan for what's next. And it has been one of the most powerful things that I ever learned the process for. So I encourage you, if you haven't jumped into the roundtable or any of the membership levels, this is extremely valuable to learn that process.
Mhm.
You can teach that, right? If you have a team, you can take this information and you can learn how to communicate that, facilitate it so that your
Mhm.
team gets value out of it. That's what I think the biggest like aha moment for me is people really get this stuff because it's basic, simple values. So,
Mhm. And the principles are just very foundational. They're repeatable. It is, when you have a dream, the dream can change. As you grow, your dream grows.
yeah.
So you can repeat the process and put your dream to the test whenever you need to either revalidate that you're still on the right path, or that maybe you need to course correct because something has changed. I
Mm,
mean, we all, as we grow, things come into our awareness that maybe we haven't really thought about.
mhm. New opportunities, new people, right? Somebody that you meet this week could say, have you ever thought about? And then it makes your wheels start turning and thinking, I used to do something like that. I wonder if that's the spark that makes you think differently about your capabilities. So don't ever discount yourself Steve Jobs always says, and many people say this, but if you go back and connect the dots to the things in your life that you really thrived in, and now maybe you've just gotten away from it. Maybe life is just taking you in a direction that you say, well, if I could get inspired to really figure out a process, that's what we want to help you do too. Because once you get that and the energy around it, man, that momentum compounds so fast.
Well, and I we're sitting here talking and what we're talking about, and all of a sudden I thought, wow, Melanie and I are actually the epitome of what we're talking about. We didn't even know each other 2 years ago.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have known Melanie in a one-woman crowd,
And yet,
but our paths crossed,
mhm,
and we were open to new people, new experiences, and Melanie and I are in the same space with our businesses. Either one of us could have been, what's so abundance mindset, and what's the other one?
I don't even
Yeah,
know. I
I
don't
can't
even
even
think
think of the
about it.
word because I'm not that. Lord.
But it's like a threatened or
Yeah,
just
competition. I
yeah,
could have viewed
competitive.
Melanie as competition.
No, and initially we were like, how do we collaborate? That's the first thing that we started thinking about when we met each other. And here it is a couple of years later, and we just had a vision for like, wow, we both come at this so differently, but yet so powerfully with so much energy and passion because we've gotten really clear. That's the thing. The momentum has brought us to the clarity. And so going through a lot of these exercises, I mean, we have tried these and tried these. Hi, Andrea.
Good
Um,
morning.
And so it's proven, right? The process is proven. All of the leaders and mentors that we have had in our lives have shared with us that if you do something, you concentrate on it with consistency, you
Mhm.
will get the results that you see and that you put in, the hard work that you put in, you will get the results. So maybe you have to tweak it, but you will have to just, keep working because again, what you see is you want the success. You've got to go through the steps that people have gone through to get that. So if you're just starting, don't lose the courage to keep going.
Mhm. Absolutely. So we haven't talked at all about overcoming objections yet. So maybe we should do that a little bit. All right. So I have up on my screen, and this is actually as a file on the Facebook group. So you can find this document there. And I pulled this again from HubSpot, this article. And there are, when you download this, there are some links in here. I highly encourage you to go to the links because there's some more great articles tied to this about prospecting and overcoming objections. But the thing I think is really critical to understand is that when you are prospecting in whatever form that takes, the vast majority, this is so true, the vast majority of objections are simply knee-jerk reactions from busy people who don't yet see the value in working with you.
Mhm.
So most sales courses, sales gurus focus on overcoming objections to closing the sale. Well, I really like to, and I know Melanie does too, because we've talked a lot about this. It's really critical to get really good at overcoming objections on the front end so that you can even get an appointment.
Mhm.
I mean, I can work on that overcoming objections at the closing, but if I never get to the time where I can sit down with that decision maker, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
So getting to front end objections. Most people are going to give you a couple of the top 5 prospecting objections, but here is the reality. You've got to articulate value early and concisely. And maybe next month we'll work on value propositions for whatever it is that you're selling as a challenge, because understanding what you're selling and what the value is to solve a problem is really where it's at. Too many salespeople get focused on benefits when the benefits may or may not solve a problem. If I don't have a good value proposition that I can clearly articulate about what my product or my service, what problem it solves, it doesn't matter how many features and benefits it has.
I have a great workshop for that. A fantastic workshop. We will integrate it because it works.
So, for building the value proposition?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Awesome.
It's so easy and anybody can do it in any industry. And it's just kind of a 2 to 3 step process. So yeah, we'll talk about that, how we want to pull it out.
Awesome. And then the second thing is not to be focused on selling your product or your service. Sell the next step. In my business, I have always taught, and I myself am always focused on the next appointment. Then you can call it next step. I call it next appointment. So if I walk in somewhere, I'm going to go back, even in coaching and training. I know it's very unlikely, unless it's a referral situation and someone has been referred to me for a specific need that is emergent right now, it is unlikely that I am going to close a deal on the first appointment. It typically takes 3 to 5 steps to close a sale. And when we, as salespeople, as saleswomen, wrap our head around that, because women in particular, and you know, your personality style and your why and your strengths obviously all play into this. But I have witnessed myself, experienced through coaching hundreds of sales professionals, that women get very anxious when they feel like it's going to take more than 1 or 2 times
Hmm.
to close a sale.
And it's a cycle.
It
It's
is a
just, it's a
cycle.
cycle. That's what we really need to be talking about is, you know, how many steps does it take? It's the phone call, it's the email, it's the stopping by, it's, you know, moving that sale along, it's scaling the sale, right? It is really scaling the
Right.
sale, because that is intimidating for a lot of people that, you know, you may have been in sales a long time. You may not have the technique to be, you know, having, you know, a lot of things in your prospecting list. If you said your 30, 60, 90-day plan and you really have that out on a spreadsheet, but how many touches do you have to make to get to that close? You know, as you get better and better at this, you should be able to define the questions that you're asking, the relationships that you have, and also the value that you're creating in that step, which
Mhm.
makes the customer say, you're the only person that can solve that problem, right? You're the only person, you know, you may have a couple of other competitors, but you're really one of the key people that we need to have come in here. It's continuing to build that value is how you get closer and closer to the close, right? And the relationship.
Yes. So relationship-based and consultative selling, in my opinion, if that is not the direction you are heading in, then you are going to be working your tail off for a lot less reward in selling. As Melanie just stated, there is a sales cycle. Figuring out what the sales cycle is for your specific product or service is really critical. I think, hey, Andrea, I think that's you. Can you mute, please? I'm a high I in disc, and so that's super distracting. So relationship-based and consultative selling, the quality of your questions is going to have a serious impact on how you build relationships with potential clients, with your prospects. And if your focus is on the prospect and serving them in ways that help them solve their problem or fill their need without worrying about how I'm going to close the sale or when the sale is going to close, or, you know, I got a house payment to make. Got to take that out of the equation. You just absolutely do.
Because
And
people can
not
see
take a
that.
no personally.
Well, people can see that when you show up to, you know, I have to do this, or it's almost like a threat to them, right? You can feel the energy, even on the phone, even in an email. If you look at the language, if you had the opportunity to kind of dissect the language that you use when you're in a stressed out situation and you're trying to communicate with customers, you use different language in that email than you would if you were, you know, thinking like, how am I going to show up to add value to them? You know, one of the things in medical device sales that I was recognized for a lot in the industry was the way that I would construct my emails. And people would say, how do you get people to respond to you? Like, you don't have to go 50,000 steps to get to the right person, because I was always thinking about the value that I wanted to bring. What else did they need to know that I could share with them? Hey, Shelly, can you mute Andrea? There we
I
go.
did.
Thank you. So this is what I want you to think about, really dissecting the way you communicate, right? This is all about, I would love to bring this workshop out, because it is, if you say the right language people hear you. And this is about your why that we're going to talk about at the workshop in October. It is so important. If you show up authentically, you don't have to really even think about the words in the language that you use because it's so natural. It's who you are. It's in your state of strengths, and you get things done a lot faster and make way more impact way faster than you ever thought possible.
Absolutely. And again, it comes back to articulating the value early and concisely, and then focusing on selling the next step, not selling the product.
Mhm.
I mean, think about your own life. And it actually boggles my mind. But the other day, Alan came and he said, "Hey, Shelley, there's a young guy out here that wants to talk to you. He's selling bug spraying services or something, or lawn and landscape services." And I was like, "Oh my God, there's still people going door to door." But there are. And so I went out to talk to him, and he was so pushy. And I'm only in the area today. You've got to make a decision today. And was just completely price based. And if you do this today, I can do it for this. And I was just like, I was so turned off. I said, "Look, dude, man, I coach people in sales for a living. You need to take our class because this is not working. I can't believe you sell anything." And maybe some people, what they do, that's a whole other conversation. But my point is, he had no clue what I value or if I had a problem even. He just was trying to sell his product, and it completely turned me off. And I asked him to leave.
Mhm.
When you go to look for a new appliance, so you go to an appliance store or Best Buy or wherever you're going. And we actually bought our last appliances, and I've got to share this story. It's so cool. So we go to Home Depot, not to buy appliances, but we ended up buying appliances and a washer and dryer. And the salesperson in that department is a man who is 87 years old, still working, because he says he drives his wife crazy if he stays home all day. But this gentleman, he knew his products, and he asked great questions. One of the first questions he asked us when we were looking at a washer and dryer is, "How much room do you have in your laundry room? Do you feel like you have enough room to get around?" And I was like, not really." And he said, "Well, have you ever considered a stackable?" And I'm like, "No." And so he started talking about how that could save us room and, allow more room for this and that. And then he said, "Is it just the two of you, or do you still have children at home?" And we're like, "Oh man, yeah, we're finally past that stage. It's just the two of us now." And he said, "So you probably don't need as big of a capacity." Well, no, we probably don't. So then he is helping us to understand what we need based on asking great questions. And that is how you do consultative selling. But first, we got to get over some objections. So let's go into the 5 most common prospecting objections. The first is the brush off. Just send me some information. And I like to, when I do trainings on selling with personality style based on DISC, most salespeople are taught, if someone tells you just send me some information, that is a complete brush off and just move on. I don't agree with that. I believe we need to try to understand why they want more information, because there is a disc personality style that is all about needing information. And it's not, they don't want it, they need it. That's how they're wired. They need more information so that they can make good decisions and feel good about the decisions that they make. So when I've brought this up in selling workshops, people who have been traditionally coached to just move on to the next prospect, if they get this objection of just send me some information or leave me some information, they are missing about 20% of the population when they do that, when they walk away. If they would just take a few minutes and have a response that is diving into what kind of personality style is this? Is this really just a brush off, or is this someone who really needs information? What do you got to share on that, Melanie?
Yep. So the things that I teach are all about the next question, right? And so what kind of information would be the most valuable to you?
Mm-hmm.
When are you something about, the timelines for a decision?
Mm-hmm.
Just there's all kinds of ways that you can take this, that you can continue the conversation instead of just send me some information. There are, building blocks. So this is kind of the first objection. And then, as you come up to figuring out what your product is, then building that value around it, just like your example of the washing machine. I love that story because that is exactly what you teach, right? Whatever your product is, you already know the answers to the questions that you want your customer to get to. So it's
Mm-hmm.
figuring out a creative way to position it. So you're saying, great. Well, if you know what this customer's business is, then you know what value you're bringing and what value your product is going to deliver them. So how's that going to save them time? Right? Just like your example, I have a stackable washing and dryer machine and it's less capacity. So would that fit your lifestyle? He's qualifying you to figure out, can he get to the next step? Just like what you said in the beginning, it's not about the sale. It's about the next step. It's planting the seed. You've heard this a million times, planting the seed in somebody's mind to get them to be emotionally connected to the journey that you're taking them on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the second most common objection when you're prospecting is competition. We're already working with your competition, so and so. And that is totally cool. In fact, if
That's great.
whatever it is that you're selling, if they're not working with your competitor, they may not have a need for your service or your product. So that in and of itself is a qualifier. If you're working with my competitor, oh, I am so happy about that.
That's right. That's right. Because, and then if you are really a great salesperson, you know everything about your competition. So you know
Yes.
how to pivot and navigate to, well, these are the gaps, right? We talk about leadership gaps all the time. These are competition gaps that make you different. This is why you want to be different.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I think that is really important is that too many salespeople are taught that they have to replace the competition. And the reality is, it's been my experience. I built so many very loyal accounts by going in alongside my competition.
Mhm.
So, and the other thing is, oh my goodness, please don't ever badmouth your competition.
Yep. That's
If
the
you've
mindset
done,
though, Shelley. That goes back to the beginning of mindset because when you walk in or when you're trying to, build a territory, it is about the mindset of that collaboration. Because if you have the added value extra, maybe you don't make as much on that sale, but you're creating the relationship and the trust.
oh
If
yeah,
you are willing to work with and collaborate with what is, and you're putting your customer in a mode that I don't have to change everything. depending upon that disc personality, I'm not going to have to get rid of this and learn something completely new. You're going to let me stay where I am. That's a leadership quality, meeting your customer where they are and building on what they have.
Absolutely. I can tell you that if you understand your competition, you will know exactly where those gaps are. And asking good questions will lead your prospect to see the same gap. And even if you can go in alongside versus replacing something, if you're doing your job by providing value and above and beyond overboard customer service, your client will quickly come to see what the differentiation is.
Mhm.
I had many times, especially when you're looking at bigger accounts that you're trying to get that do have your competitor in place. I can't even tell you how many accounts I won away because I was willing to go in alongside my competition versus trying to push them out. Now, sometimes it was a situation where there was just, once I had that opportunity to sit down with the decision maker and really talk about their pain points and what the value proposition was of what I was there with. Sometimes they actually did take out the competitor. But I actually loved it when I had the opportunity to go in alongside and see people coming over.
Mm.
It's like, oh, yes, I give that kind of customer service. Everybody's like, oh, you need to go talk to Shelly, oh my gosh, or you need to go talk to Shelly's team member, whoever it was, Darlene or Christy or Amy or whoever. And it was like, we just gave such great customer service and we were so customer centric in our sales process. There was no comparison. So
Yeah.
give yourself the opportunity. I already work with your competitor. Okay, great. I'm not here to replace them. I'm here to talk to you about what we can bring. And I would invite you to take a look at having us work alongside them with you.
Right. It's a differentiator, right? We used to,
Mhm.
in medical device sales, we would create education meetings together as competitors, but then
Mhm.
bringing our customers together to let them know, like, these are the things that we really shine in and how we do support each other. You get more momentum when you collaborate and support somebody that's in your space than you do if you go in. Like Shelley said, you never ever want to badmouth them. You never ever want to say they can't do that, or I've seen this horrible thing happen with them. That's not your place. That's not your place because you're there to create your own value.
I will say that one thing I did do a lot when I was in a competitive situation was I would ask the decision maker, and I was in the insurance space and voluntary benefits. So my question would be to the decision maker, when's the last time you asked your employees how happy they were with this benefit? And not just with the benefit, but with the service, because that's what I'm most interested in. And usually they would say, well, I haven't really talked to them about it since we started it. Oh, okay. Well, do you think it might help you to understand if this benefit is even a value to your employees if you did some kind of quick survey? So, there's things that you can do that are not bad mouthing your competition. But the reality is, once a decision maker makes a decision, they are not usually thinking about that product or service again, unless something comes up that's really gone wrong, either if it's an employee-based product or service you're selling, or it's, if you're in copier sales and the copier blows up and nobody returns their calls to come fix it,
Mm.
the the decision maker is going to hear about that. But other than that, the decision maker isn't usually in the loop anymore once they've made the decision.
Right. Yep. That's so right. That's why you have to get everybody on board, right? And that's why it's a process. That's why you
Mhm,
have to get to one step, then the next step, and know what those steps are.
mhm. All right, so procrastination. Woo! Call me back next quarter. Call me back next month. I am really busy. And people push off anything because they're swamped. You cannot let them do that. You have to be able to have the confidence
Mm.
in what you have to offer. You have the best cookie. Don't let them off the hook that easy. I'd still like to set up a 5-minute call. I know the timing's bad. I'm not here to meet with you today. I'm here to schedule an appointment for the future. Take away, I mean, you can take away a procrastination objection before they even get it out of their mouth. When I go, if I am calling somewhere or I'm walking in somewhere, I am immediately saying, "Hi, Melanie, thanks for taking time to come out and greet me. I'm not here to meet with you today or ask for your time to meet today. I'm here to schedule an appointment for next week or 2 weeks out. Can we take a look at our calendars? I want to get in and out because I know you're busy." I'm focused on the next step. I'm not focused on selling my product right there.
Yep. That's so important. And then,
Um,
I want to just say this real quick, the follow up for the connection. So whether it's email, whether it's, I've done send out cards for a long time, some process that you're able to connect with that customer, something personal to be able to bring back of they remember that you were there and that you
mhm.
care about their business. Maybe it's an article that you send them that's been posted in a local paper about their business. Maybe it's you've seen
Or a trade journal.
or a trade journal, you've seen them thriving. And so how do you connect to that? What is your product? How do you benefit them to where their vision is, where they're going, how they're building that? And if you don't have that, maybe that's not your right customer. Those are the kinds of
Mhm,
targets that you really want because those are going to be your relationships that really matter and are like glue to the rest of your business. When you bring
mhm.
value to those customers, watch out. Your business will multiply tenfold
Woo.
fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The fourth most common objection is budget. We don't have a budget for this, or we've already spent our budget, or we've already dedicated our budget for this, whatever it is that you're selling.
Mm.
And this is not just B2B here. This is B2C. So I know we have a number of direct sales company representatives in this group. And so this might be the household budget. It doesn't always a company's budget or a business's budget we're talking about here. We don't have the budget for this. And if that's part of your qualifying your leads, then that really may be a stopping point. Um, BANT stands for, oh my goodness, budget, analysis, needs, and timing.
Mm.
Those are 4 big pieces, obviously, of anybody's decision-making process. So has your buyer burned through their personal budget? Can they really not afford it? In most cases, the prospect doesn't need to have a budget at this stage, and you should leverage that fact to overcome this objection. Saying something like, "Well, I'm not expecting you to buy anything today. I just want the opportunity to share with you what we're doing, see if it's valuable to your company." And then go ahead and try to get that call scheduled, that follow-up call scheduled. Or if
Here's the thing,
it's
Shelley, it doesn't threaten your customer either when you step back and you start to plan, right? This is the planning process. This is the step by step. You may not get this customer for a year, but it's
Mhm,
planting the seed. It's helping them establish the budget of value for what you're offering.
mhm. And then and we have processes we use for that too. For those long-term follow-ups. All
Yeah.
right. Getting in the weeds. This can sound like this kind of goes back to that I need, just leave me some information. So getting in the weeds. So maybe you're standing there talking to the prospect and they start asking for, can you just tell me, does your product do this, this, and this? Or they want to talk about features and benefits. Well, that's not where you're at right now. What you're trying to do is get an actual sit in front of you. This is our focus time to be able to have those kinds of conversations, and you're going to try to stay away from that anyway. But if you get into the place where someone is asking you for more detail, great. I'm glad you asked that. It sounds like you're really interested in us being able to help you. So I think it'd be helpful to set up a time where we can answer these questions and others. And this says with the specialist, if you're a newer salesperson, you might need to bring back someone who has more experience. But in reality, the other thing here is, and this is what I would do when I had this happen, or because I haven't had it happen recently. But anyway, what I would do is say, great, you know what, those are great questions. And I'd really appreciate it if we could set up a time where I can really get in and answer all your questions. And I'm going to send you an email and prompt you for some more questions so that I can be really prepared when I come back to answer those questions. And for people that truly are wanting the information, they love that, because I'm not going to waste their time right now. And I'm respecting that, hey, you're a person who needs information. So I'm going to ask you to gather as much questions as we can before I come back so that I'm not wasting your time. What do you think, Melanie?
Yep. It's so important. If you know, again, where you want to lead the customer to, what's the ultimate goal? And you should know all that. That should be a meeting that you have with yourself before you even walk into that account. You should know what the objective is. I remember sitting in my car with so many sales managers and with team members and saying, okay, what's our objective? What are we going to try to do at this point? And because, as salespeople, we get excited about what we love. We get passionate about what we do. So we have to put parameters on our own processes so that we can be successful. That's what the systems are, right? I could tell you all about the things that I've done and on podcasts. Like you listen to a podcast and you say, gosh, they've done so much in their life, but what's the takeaway? Right? What do they want you to do next? And so that's where it's so important as a sales professional that you really get this step right. Just take one step at a time and know what you want before you go in. And then you can be very confident in what you're asking for, right? Don't let the customer lead you where you don't want to go yet. Stay in control. Stay in control.
Yes, absolutely. And then finally, knowing when no really means no. And I know there's a lot of schools of thought out there that say no is never a no, it's not right now. Sometimes it is no. And it isn't a personal attack.
Right.
When it's a no, when it's really a no. And in fact, the more that you try to persuade someone that they don't really mean no, the further you push them away. So what I like to think of this as is that and this says rule of thumb, if the prospect says an objection twice, it's real. No means no. And that's okay, because here's something that no one really talks about much. And that is that not every prospect is a good fit. Not every prospect, even if it's a referral, is a good fit for your product, for your service, and maybe for you personally. So if we are keeping our sales pipeline full, then we don't get as worried and wrapped up as when someone tells us no, and they really mean it.
Yep.
If we can honor that because they really do mean it, a couple of really cool things happen. It allows you to still continue to build a relationship with them, because even though it may be a no for them, they may know someone who it could be a yes for.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's a relationship, because you want them to think of you first when they do have an opportunity to say, well, we don't have the budget for it yet. And if you take the offensive and well, why can't you work out a budget? Well, I'll reduce my cost, right? That's the worst thing that you could do is I'll fit my workshop, training, product, value, whatever. Oh, I'll just work it into whatever you need. That is like the worst thing that you could do because now you have decreased your value, totally decreased your value if I'm willing to do whatever just to get this done. Stand your ground, be confident in what you do, what you offer, who you are, because that's what people really want to work with. They will pay a premium price to work with programs that have the confidence. Look at when Apple Computer came out, even the Apple iPhone. People stood in line for 6 hours. They didn't even know what the product was, but they felt the energy, the inspiration of what it was going to help them achieve. If you have a product like that, you can name the price of your value. Don't ever negotiate on your price just to get something in the door because, you think you're the customer is not giving you an opportunity unless you do that. Just wait. Like patience is a virtue. That's why it's a virtue. Figure it out and have your confidence, right? Know what you are doing for that particular customer.
I have a great, very recent example of this for myself. And I think all of us, when we get started in sales, if you change sales products or services. So for example, I have extreme experience in selling systems, training in sales, but and insurance, but when I moved from being an insurance sales leader to my own consultancy, training, coaching, leadership, DISC, all these things, I really devalued myself. I questioned my value, the value of what I was charging, and I was willing to lower my price just to get a deal, just to close a sale. And I'm telling you this from my personal experience. And here I am, I've been in the business for over 30 years. And I did it to myself because I let the little voices in my head question, well, why this isn't what you've been doing. It's a little bit different. It's not focused on this specific area. So why should people pay you this much money? And when I stopped doing that to myself and demanded from myself that I come up with a value proposition that would connect me to the people I needed to be connected to, that I could provide that value to, everything changed.
Yep.
And recently, in fact, I'm doing a training tomorrow down in Indy for a company on conflict resolution. And when I initially gave them my proposal, I didn't hear anything for a couple of days. And I'm going to tell you, most salespeople get completely freaked out at that point, and they start sending emails like every couple hours. I'm sorry, did you get my email? Did you get my proposal? Maybe you didn't see my proposal. It probably got somewhere in your junk. I don't know, start freaking out. Don't do that. Slow your roll. Be patient. Silence is a great thing. And in sales, I love this. I know maybe it's not completely true, but they say once you give your proposal, whether it's in person or via email or whatever you're doing, be quiet. Give your prospect the time to process.
Mhm.
And what happened was there were 3 pieces to this originally. And my person came back a few days later and said, "Hey, I'm sorry it took so long, but your proposal amount is over our budget." And I said, "Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity to have given you a proposal. I just want to point out a couple things." So I went back into my value proposition. And I said, "Here's what I can do. We can drop off this piece to get it closer to your budget, but that's the lowest I can go to do this. But the value that I'm going to bring to your company and your people, and them being less stressed out because they're going to know how to deal with conflict in a much healthier way to get the resolution to keep things moving." And then I didn't hear anything again for a week. And believe me, I wanted to email it, but I didn't. I just said, "You know what? This is what I'm willing to do it for. This maintains my value. This maintains my expertise and what I bring to the table." And a week later, I got an email and said, "I got the owners to approve it. So tomorrow I'm going to Indianapolis to provide this training."
Yay.
Don't devalue yourself.
No, think of yourself as a brand. That's why when we talk about branding, if you really believe that you have a product that you've developed, maybe it's not your own product, maybe you work for a distributor, but if you believe in what you're doing, that has significant value. Plus,
Mhm.
what you bring, your passion, your knowledge, your processes, that is what people buy, right? They know, like, and trust you, and they want to buy the brand that you represent, whether it's your character, your brand that you're selling, or a product line or a company line. If you work at a company, they tell you all the time the three things that they believe, the missions that they want to accomplish, how they treat customers, right? What the expectations are. If you decide to do something on your own, you have the same thing. And that's what you just talked about, Shelley. It's believing that you have the brand, the personal brand to back up what you are providing to your customers.
Mhm.
That's mindset, right? That we're going to talk
Mhm.
about that at our conference a lot. It starts with mindset. And once you get through that phase or that belief system, you begin to say, well, do you mean that I can be compared with, you use Xerox, right? Xerox or Whirlpool or one of these other brands. How do you think they started? I worked for Bill Cook for a long time. He started out of his garage making radiology wires. But now it's the largest private medical device manufacturer in the world after 57, 58 years because he had a belief. He went out against the competition and knew what his product was going to be able to do and how he would stand behind it, right?
Yes.
That's what you build. And when your customers feel that, they know that, they understand that you're not just going to, be at them and, okay, sign this today or else we can't do business. If that's your attitude, we really need to help you focus.
Yes.
So we know all of you want to be successful. We're just giving you, some of those critical examples that we know that you've probably done. I've done them all at some point in my life, at some process, right? You have to learn. And yet, every day we try to get better at all of these things.
Mhm. Well, we hope that today's overcoming common objections on the front end when you're prospecting has been helpful for you. If you have questions, you can continue to drop them into the comment section on the Facebook page, where the link to when the replay is uploaded. And then also, please help us out and go to our YouTube channel, Scale for Women, and and hit the little bell so you get notified every time new content is uploaded. And please share it. Share that YouTube channel. We really want to get to 100 subscribers so that we can not be a bunch of letters, and actually our channel will say Scale for Women.
Yes, I
So
think we have 9 right now. So we could use all of your help. If
yes.
you can, well, we changed the channel when we very first started. So if you had subscribed previously, just go back there and check it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. because if you can't follow this in the mornings or the challenges or like today at noon, we're going to have another big announcement. And
Woohoo!
so you will get updated on all of that as soon as we update that to the YouTube channel, and you can follow us along. So please, just, we love you being a part of this community and we're grateful for you. So we want to serve you in any way that we can.
Everyone have a great day, and we will see you at noon if you can jump on the live Zoom.
Yay. All right. See you at noon. Bye, Shelley.
Bye.
Bye.